In this video, I'm going to be talking about the options around using Microsoft Power Automate for your document up versioning control process and how we synchronize using Power Automate with Xoralia. As you can see on the screen, Xoralia has identified to the document owner and administrator that there is an outdated policy for review as it is past its expiry date. In Xoralia, you can also clearly see in the left-hand navigation that we have another document coming up for review. This is a proactive way of managing the validity of your organization's documents. To update the document owner is to open the document library in SharePoint. This can be done directly from Xoralia. As a user with the correct site permissions in SharePoint, I have the option to see the document within its live state as version 2.1. To ensure live documents are not edited accidentally, there's the option to switch off editing within individual libraries. To edit the document, I first need to move the document to the Drafts library. The Drafts library is not synced with Xoralia, and therefore cannot be found by end users. By running the Power Automate flow, a duplicate of the document is created ready for editing. Once the duplication process is completed, we've conveniently configured a shortcut to the Drafts library, which can be found in the submenu just below our intranet logo. As part of the process configuration, we've chosen to remove the version number metadata, and the review and approval cycles won't be triggered until the data is repopulated with a new version number. Now the document is in draft state, the user is able to edit the document directly within SharePoint. There is the option to track changes, although I haven't used it in this example for editing this document. SharePoint version control is very powerful. You can always retrieve historic versions and see the changes between the versions using the SharePoint version history feature. Also, using the Word Online feature means multiple people can edit the document at once without conflicting and causing missing information and changes. It's also a configuration option to block downloads of documents. We often encourage this as it forces users to use Word Online. Once the document content has been updated, it's down to the document owner to also set the version within the metadata ahead of sending it to peers to review, amend, or approve the document. For this process example, we have configured a two-step document up versioning process. We have set up a document review cycle and a document approval cycle. Each of these flows have different behaviors and different recipients. Behind each of these flows or processes, we have a group of people within an Active Directory group, which are managed by the IT team. There are alternative behaviors we can configure, such as identifying recipients within a metadata column, such as send for review recipients. However, best practice would be not to allow the user to specify their reviewers themselves in case they were to accidentally fast-track the system. When sending the document for peer review, we've added in some details for the user to set, including a deadline review date. This review date is going to be populated into the emails the recipients receive to help with an efficient review process. On the screen is an example of an email the recipient behind the send for review flow would receive. When setting up this process, it is possible to customize the subject and body of the email. The reviewing recipient is easily able to review the document by clicking the link in the email. There is also a configuration option to notify users in Microsoft Teams of their outstanding tasks. Clicking on the link will take the users directly to the live document to edit their comments, either using track changes or without. Once again, the version history is always retained for an admin to revive or reference when required. As the document is using Word Online, the user can see, using the top left-hand corner, to reference when the document is saved. Once the date of the review deadline, or after all recipients have reviewed the document, a summary email will be sent to the document administrator with summary details on all the changes made on the document and by whom. The next process we've set up as part of this demonstration is a send for approval flow. This acts differently to the send for review flow, as we have an adapted card for a simple approve or reject response. This process also has a different Active Directory recipient group behind it. When the document administrator runs this flow, we've set up the option to see whether the flow was successful or not. This is an optional step. This email is an example of an adaptive card response. It's visually more appealing and adds context to an approval. The email contains the link to the document, and at this stage of the process, you could configure whether approvers can edit the document or not. Once the document approver is happy with the document, they have the simple option to approve or reject the document. They also have the option to add a short comment. This flow has been configured so that as soon as the first recipient of the Active Directory group approves the document, the newly approved document is moved to the live library and available for all users to see and read. The flow can also be easily configured to require all recipients to approve the document. However, if the document was rejected, for example, it will send the rejection comments back to the document owner to revise the document. They would then have to run the process again with the new amendments. After the document library is refreshed, you'll notice the document version metadata updates and the legacy document is replaced with the newly reviewed version. The change is also reflected in Xoralia after a refresh. An automatic refresh happens in Xoralia every 10 minutes. Once the document owner is happy with the process, it's then their responsibility to set the new expiry date within Xoralia. Updating the expired date would automatically remove the expired tag until the next review cycle. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration as to what Power Automate can do when used in conjunction with Xoralia and the powerful impact it can have on keeping policies valid and up to date.